before the clock started ticking, before the moon learned how to shine, before my worries had a name, God was already on time. There was nothing but silence, no rhythm, no rhyme, no stars hanging in heaven, no beat, no time. Darkness lay like a heavy old coat on the shoulders of the deep. Then God leaned forward, cleared his throat, and the dark couldn't sleep. He said, "Let there be light," and the night had to move. Yeah, the shadows backed down when he sang the blues. Every broken place, every wrong made right. When God spoke the world, he spoke the blues away with light. He split the sky from the waters like a river parting pain, put the clouds in their places, told the storms their name. Said, "You go here, you stay there," drew the lines just right. Even chaos listened close when God talked that night. He said, "Let there be light," and the dark lost its claim. Stars lit up heaven like they knew his name. From the east to the west, from the day to the night, when God spoke the world, he spoke the blues away with light. Then he rolled out the dry land, painted oceans deep blue, told the grass to start growing, said, "I got work for you." Trees clapped their hands in the wind, rivers learned how to run. Every seed found a future when God said it is done. Sun clocked in for the daytime, moon took the midnight shift. Stars started preaching sermons, every night they drift. Fish filled up the waters, birds took to the air. Creation found its voice just knowing God was there. He said, "Let there be light," and the silence sang. Every mountain bowed down, every bell rang. From the first sunrise to the last amen, God turned nothing into light and breathed hope back in. Then God knelt in the dirt with his hands so strong, scooped up dust in mercy, took his time all along. Breathed life into a man, yeah, breathed more than air. Put his own reflection in a soul made from prayer. He said, "Let there be life," and the heart beat true. Every breath was borrowed, every pulse brand new. From the garden ground to the midnight cry, if God can start the world, he can raise you tonight. planted love in a garden where the rivers met. Walked with man in the cool day like he ain't done yet. Said rest is holy, child. Even God took time. On the seventh day, peace crossed the line. If he made light from darkness, he can make joy from pain. If he spoke stars into heaven, he can whisper your name. If Eden walked with God before the fall and the fight, he's still walking with us in the middle of the night. Now I look at this old world, so tired and worn. Feels like we've been living in Genesis before morn. But the same God who said light still speaks today, still turning chaos into a brand new way. He said, let there be light in your broken home. Let there be peace, you ain't alone. From the first amen to the last sunrise, the God who made the world still makes all things alive. Yeah. Before the blues ever found me, God already had a song. Before the night grew heavy, he said, child, hold on. Genesis started it all, but grace still writes the tune. The same God of creation still meets us in the midnight blues. It was a perfect morning before the first wrong choice, before the echo of regret drowned out God's voice. Sunrise in the garden, no tears in the air. Every step walked easy, God was walking there. No shame on their shoulders, no fear in their eyes. Truth hung heavy in the silence, like a promise that never lied. But the blues don't knock, they just slip inside. One question whispered, change all mankind. From you are free, to where did you hide? Yeah, Eden learned the blues the day truth was denied. Serpent slid through the shadows, smooth like a midnight tune. Said, did God really say that? Doubt bloomed too soon. He twisted up the promise, bent it out of shape, made freedom sound like prison, and the lie felt like escape. Yeah, the blues don't shout, they talk real low. They make wrong look right till you don't even know. From one soft bite to a broken cry, Eden learned the blues the day they believed the lie. Fruit tasted sweet for a moment, then the silence fell. Eyes open wide to naked fear, heaven turned to hell. They stitched together fig leaves, trying to cover the sound of a heart that knew it had let God down. First time shame said hello, first time fear took hold, first time love felt distant, first time warm turned cold. They heard God walking like he always did, but now his footsteps sounded like thunder to a kid. From walking with God to running away, from open faces to hiding in shame. Same garden path, but not the same life. Sin wrote the blues that changed day into night. God said, Adam, where are you? Not 'cause he didn't know, but 'cause love still calls you even when you go. Not a shout of anger, not a hammer of blame, just a broken-hearted question calling them by name. I've been hiding in the bushes behind my own excuse, blaming someone else for the choices I choose. Said she gave it to me, said he led me wrong, but the truth don't change when you pass it along. Curses hit the ground hard, thorns learn how to grow. Pain entered the story like it was always to know. The serpent heard his sentence, the dust became his meal. But in the middle of the judgment, mercy made a deal. God said, from a woman's seed, I'll crush that serpent's head. Even in the fall, grace already bled. From fig leaves to sacrifice, from shame to bloodstained grace, love wrote a promise right there in the fallen place. God killed an innocent animal to clothe their naked skin. First time blood ever fell for somebody else's sin. They walked out of the garden, but not out of his sight. Mercy packed their bags and walked with them into the night. we are children of dust, still biting forbidden fruit, still hiding behind our shadows, still scared of the truth. But the same God who called in Eden still calls today, saying, come out of them bushes, I already made a way. From a broken garden, same mother, same father, same breath of life from God, but two hearts beating different on the same old side. Adam's hands were still dusty from the curse of the land. Eve hummed broken lullabies, trying to understand. Two sons grew in the shadows of a garden closed tight. One learned to till the soil, one kept sheep through the night. Same sun, same rain, but not the same cry. One brought faith to the altar, one brought pride inside. You can stand next to worship and still feel alone. That's how the blues get started, right there at home. Cain worked the ground all season, sweat mixed in with his prayer. Abel watched the flock closely, gave God his best in care. When the smoke rose up to heaven, God smiled on Abel's name. Cain's offering fell heavy, and it fed a quiet flame. When heaven says yes to your brother, but stays silent to you, the jealousy don't ask permission, it just shows up too. God sees the heart, not the labor, not the sweat or the sound. And the blues start whispering when pride don't bow down. God said, Cain, why you angry? Why's your face hanging low? Sin's crouching at your doorstep, but you don't have to let it go. he knocked on his conscience. Grace stood in the way, but Cain chose the road where anger gets its say. He called his brother to the field. No altar, no song, just quiet where temptation feels easy and wrong. One blow changed the history of the human race. First blood ever spilling on God's green place. No choir in that field, no prayer in the air, just silence, learning sorrow, and earth holding despair. From one jealous heart to a grave unnamed, the blues wrote a verse, and the world was changed. God said, Cain, where's your brother? Same love, same tone, not a shout of fury, just a chance to come home. Cain said, am I his keeper? Truth hid behind crown. You can't bury blood, no matter how hard you try. The ground started crying with a voice of fury. Abel's blood preaching louder.
They laughed when the hammer fell, said, old man, what you building for? But when the clouds learned how to cry, they didn't laugh no more. The world got loud with violence, hearts turned cold as stone. Every street sang wicked song. Man had God's name wrong. But Noah walked a quiet road with obedience in his hand. Build faith one nail at a time on dry and dusty land. Yeah, darkened out the call, but when heaven opens up, everybody hears it fall. God said no, felled it all down. Judgment's on its way. No blueprint in the heavens, just faith for every day. Neighbors shook their heads, said you lost your mind, but Noah kept on building, trusting God with time. No rain in the forecast, no clouds in the sky, but obedience don't need proof. When God speaks, you reply. Faith don't ask for sunshine when God says stand. Sometimes salvation looks like working with your hand. Then the animals started marching, 2 by 2 in line, a holy parade of mercy right before the sign. The door stayed open long enough for anyone to choose, but the crowd loved the dry ground more than the truth. Then the sky broke open like a weeping drum. The fountains of the deep cried out, and judgment came undone. Every mountain bowed in silence, every laugh turned pale. The same rain that mocked their pride floated Noah's sail. When the rain started preaching, nobody had jokes. Every word Noah spoke before now thundered in the smoke. Grace had built an ark, but time had finally run. You can't ignore the warning, but you can't outrun the flood. Inside that wooden mercy, fear sat close to faith. Storms screamed their testimonies at heaven's heavy gate. Days turned into nights, nights turned into prayer. Noah held God's promise like breath inside the air. 40 days and 40 nights, rain didn't take a breath. The old world washed away in a baptism of death. But floating over judgment was a family saved by grace. God doesn't drown His promise even when He cleans a place. Yeah, judgment made the water rise, but mercy made it flow. God remembers faith even when the storm won't go. If you're holding to His word when the thunder roars, the same rain that drowns the prayer will lift the faithful shore. Then the rain learned how to stop, silence filled the sky. Noah sent a raven out, watching hope fly by. The dove came back with empty wings, then left again one day. Came back with an olive branch, saying, life found a way. That olive branch was preaching without a single sound. Said God keeps His promises even when the world breaks down. If hope comes back to you, with a sign you can't ignore. That means dry ground's coming, just like God said before. When Noah stepped on dry ground, he built an altar there. Thank God for deliverance and mercy in the air. God hung a rainbow promise across a washed clean sky. Said never again by water will the whole world die. When the rain started preaching, it taught the world this truth. God judges wicked hearts, but He saves the faithful few. There's an ark named Jesus, still open today. Get inside that mercy before the clouds turn gray. Yeah, I hear thunder in the distance. God's
back when everybody talked the same words, same sound. We thought we could climb to heaven without ever bowing down. Whole world had one language, one rhythm, one plan. Said, let's build us a city, let's make us a name. Brick by brick they stacked their pride, mortar mixed with fame, trying to touch the sky without calling God's name. Yeah, we were talking big dreams, but forgetting who we are, trying to build a ladder to reach the stars. When you aim for heaven without bending your knees, the blues start humming in different keys. They fired up the kilns at sunrise, burned bricks red as shame. Said if we stand together, we'll never be the same. But unity without God ain't harmony, friend. It's just a louder echo of where pride begins. We said, look at our tower, how it cuts the sky. But God hears the heart more than the battle cry. You can stack up your strength as high as you can see, but the blues come easy when pride leads the way. Then God leaned over heaven, didn't strain, didn't shout. Said, if this is just the beginning, let's slow this thing down. Not 'cause God felt threatened, not 'cause He felt small, but 'cause pride unchecked always ends in a fall. Words tripped over words, tongues twisted mid-prayer. One man said, hand me a hammer, other heard, get out of here. Plans fell into
into question marks, dreams lost there too, when heaven hit the mute button on human pride too soon. Same hands, different language, same sweat, different sound. Everybody shouting, nobody hearing now. When God breaks the rhythm you thought you controlled, that's the sound of the blues in a story told. Bricks lay cold in the sun, tower froze mid-sky. People packing confusion in the tears of goodbye. From one voice to many, from one place to the land, God scattered the people, still holding their hand. I built my own little towers out of hustle and fear. Said, God, I got this, then wondered why you disappeared. But every time I climb too high on a name I made myself, God lovingly reminds me I can't save myself. Now we got screens for towers, likes instead of bricks, still trying to touch heaven with our clever little tricks. Everybody talking louder, still nobody hears. Whole world speaking at once, drowning out God's tears. But unity with Jesus sounds different somehow. Many tongues, one spirit, teaching hearts how to bow. From Babel to Pentecost, God rewrote the song. Confusion met the cross and learned where it went. Don't build your tower, build your faith. Don't chase a name, chase amazing grace. If God breaks your language to save your soul, that ain't judgment talking, that's mercy take control. Lord, teach me how to listen before I try to climb. Teach me how to speak your truth in every tongue, every time.
God don't always give directions. Sometimes he just gives a call. Says leave what you know before you know anything at all. Abram woke up to a whisper, not thunder, not fire, not flame, just a holy voice in the quiet, calling Abram by name. Said, leave your country, your people, your father's house behind. I'll show you a land someday, but not on your timeline. Pack your bags and trust me, that's what the Lord said then. Faith ain't about the map, it's about who's holding your hand. When the road ain't marked and the future's unclear, if God called your name, you don't need to fear. No address, no landmarks, no promise of ease, just I'll bless you echoing in the desert breeze. Friends said, Abram, you crazy, you too old for dreams. But faith don't retire when God intervenes. He said, I'll make you a blessing, I'll make your name great. Funny how God's promise never comes too late. When heaven says go and the world says stay, you gotta choose who you trust on the faith walkway. He packed up Sarai beside him, Lot tagged along too, stepped out of what was familiar into something brand new. Every step kicked up questions, every mile stirred doubt, but obedience don't wait till the fear runs out. Dust on his sandals, sun on his face. Every night slept under stars God already placed. Past Duke Suckins Valley, cannon under his feet. God said this land is yours before Abram owned a street. Promise before possession, blessing before proof. God speaks in future tense while we're stuck in the truth. If he said it, he meant it, even when it don't show. Faith walks on God's word, not on what you know. I heard God call my name once, and it sound real clear. Just knew staying put would cost me more than fear. Left what felt like safety for a road untried. Found out God walks closer on the other side. Everywhere Abram camped, he built an altar there. Didn't own the land yet, but he owned his prayer. Between Bethel and Ai, he lifted up his song. When you don't know where you're going, you worship where you're strong. Build an altar in the waiting, sing a song in the not yet. Praise weighs his fate, speaking before the promise is met. If God called you forward, don't look back in shame. The road may be unknown, but He knows your name. God said, through you all nations will be blessed someday. One obedient, yes, started heaven's way. Abram didn't see it all, didn't know the cost, but one step of obedience found what Eden lost. Trust me, that call still stands today. Leave behind your comfort when God says walk this way. From Abram to Abraham, from wonder to grace, God still builds a future from one faithful step of faith. Yeah. I don't need the full picture, just the next. Some tests don't come loud, they come quiet and slow. They ask you to trust God with the thing you love most. God called Abraham early before the sun could rise, said, take your son, your only son, the promise in your eyes. Every word weighed heavy like stones in his chest. Faith don't always shout, sometimes it just takes the test. When God tests your faith, He ain't trying to be cruel. He's seeing if the promise still bows to the rule. If He gave it to you, He can take it or save. That's the mountain blues where the faithful learn brave. Abraham saddled the donkey, didn't tell Sarah a thing. Some obedience is lonely like a broken guitar string. 3 days walking in silence, 3 nights praying in tears, carrying tomorrow's promise through yesterday's fears. Yeah, obedience walks slow when the cost feels too high, but faith keeps moving when the heart wants to cry. God don't explain the reason, He just calls your name, and the blues start humming in the fire of faith. Isaac said, Father, I see the fire, I see the wood we bear, but where is the lamb for the offering there? Abraham swallowed the question with a voice strong but sore, said, God will provide, my son, even when he wasn't sure. Say it again when you're shaking, say it again when you're afraid. God will provide on this mountain,
even if it ain't clear today. Faith talks louder than feelings when the knife's in your hand. That's the kind of blues heaven understands. They stacked up the stones, slowly laid the wood just right. Every move felt eternal in your still mountain run. Isaac lay down trusting, didn't fight, didn't run. Sometimes faith looks like surrender in a father and a son. Then an angel cried, Abraham, not once but twice. Said, lay that knife down, now you pass the price. God saw the heart behind the act, saw faith prove true. He stopped the sacrifice before the blood ever knew. When heaven calls your name, right before the fall, that's when you learn God was watching it all. He don't want your Isaac, he wants your trust. The mountain blues break open when faith is just. There was a ram in the thicket, caught by mercy's hand. God made a way where faith stood and fear couldn't stand. Jehovah Jireh spoke loud without saying a word. Provision bleated in the bushes just like Abraham heard. God will provide on this mountain. Write it deep in your soul. When obedience costs everything, that's when grace takes control. From Isaac to the cross, God already knew He'd give His own Son someday, so He could save me and you. Yeah, Lord, whatever you've given me, I give it back again. Teach my heart to trust you, even when I don't understand.
Some prayers don't sound holy, they sound like breath and bone. They happen when the night is long and you finally end up alone. Jacob crossed the river at midnight, sent his family on ahead. Old tricks weigh heavy on a man when tomorrow's filled with dread. Esau's coming with 400, history knocking at the door. You can run from your past a long time, but you can't run forevermore. That's when the blues show up, right after the sun goes down. When the lies you lived on finally lose their sound. No place left to bargain, no road left to flee. Just you and God in the dark, trying to set you free. danger grabbed him sudden. No words, no warning sign. Just fists in the dust of the riverbank till stars lost track of time. Every grip felt like judgment. Every fall felt like grace. Sometimes God don't speak to you till He gets you face to face. Yeah, faith ain't always gentle. Sometimes it's a fight. Sometimes you wrestle God Himself just to make it through the night. When prayer turns physical and hope won't let go, that's the kind of blues only heaven knows. Jacob fought with all his cunning, all the tricks he ever played. But the stranger didn't flinch once, didn't fall for masquerade. All them stolen blessings, all them borrowed names, got dragged into the moonlight by the sound of Jacob's pain. Then the stranger touched his hip, didn't need no second try. One small move from holy hands brought the strongest man to cry. Strength left Jacob's body, pride hit the ground. When God shows you your weakness, that's where grace is found. You can fight with all your power, still lose what you lean on most. But the blessing ain't in the muscle, it's in holding close. When your strength runs empty and your ego's gone, that's when the blues turn holy, just before dawn. Jacob said, I won't let you go till you bless my soul. Not a demand, just desperation from a man done with control. God said, what is your name? Truth finally spoke. I'm Jacob, I'm the liar. And the night finally broke. God said, you won't be Jacob no more. You wrestled and you stayed. Israel's your name now, 'cause you faced me and prayed. Blessing came with a limp, but a brand new song. Sometimes you don't walk the same, but you walk right on. I'd rather live with a blessing than run with a lie. Rather walk slow with God than be strong passing by. If it costs me my pride, but it saves my soul, I'll take them midnight blues that finally made me whole.
Jacob crossed somehow. Same past behind him, but a different man now. Esau met him with mercy, arms open wide. Funny how God fixes tomorrow when you let him wrestle inside. If you're wrestling with God tonight, don't you let him go. Hold on through the darkness till mercy starts to show. You might leave with a limp, but you'll leave with his name, and the blues won't own you once you're
Some prayers don't sound holy. They sound like breath and bone. They happen when the night is long and you finally end up alone. Jacob crossed the river at midnight, sent his family on ahead. Old tricks weigh heavy on a man when tomorrow's filled with dread. Esau's coming with 400, history knocking at the door. You can run from your past a long time, but you can't run forevermore. That's when the blues show up, right after the sun goes down, when the lies you lived on finally lose their sound. No place left to bargain, no road left to flee, just you and God in the dark, trying to set you free. Then a stranger grabbed him sudden, no words, no warning sign, just fists in the dust of the riverbank till stars lost track of time. Every grip felt like judgment, every fall felt like grace. Sometimes God don't speak to you till he gets you face to face. Yeah, faith ain't always gentle, sometimes it's a fight. Sometimes you wrestle God himself just to make it through the night. When prayer turns physical and hope won't let go, that's the kind of blues only heaven knows. Jacob fought with all his cunning, all the tricks he ever played, but the stranger didn't flinch once, didn't fall for masquerade. All them stolen blessings, all them borrowed names, got dragged into the moonlight by the sound of Jacob's pain.
when the stranger touched his hip. I didn't need no second try. One small move from holy hands brought the strongest man to cry. Strength left Jacob's body, pride hit the ground. When God shows you your weakness, that's where grace is found. You can fight with all your power, still lose what you lean on most. But the blessing ain't in the muscle, it's in holding close. When your strength runs empty and your ego's gone, that's when the blues turn holy, just before dawn. Jacob said, I won't let you go till you bless my soul. Not a demand, just desperation from a man done with control. God said, what is your name? Truth finally spoke. I'm Jacob, I'm the liar, and the night finally broke. God said, you won't be Jacob no more. You wrestled and you stayed. Israel's your name now, 'cause you faced me and prayed. Blessing came with a limp, but a brand new song. Sometimes you don't walk the same, but you walk right on. I'd rather live with a blessing than run with a lie. Rather walk slow with God than be strong passing by. If it costs me my pride, but it saves my soul, I'll take the midnight blues that finally made me whole. Jacob crossed somehow, same passed behind him, but a different man now.
Sun came up on the river, Jacob crossed somehow, same passed behind him, but a different man now. Esau met him with mercy, arms open wide. Funny how God fixes tomorrow when you let him wrestle inside. If you're wrestling with God tonight, don't you let him go. Hold on through the darkness till mercy starts to show. You might leave with a limp, but you'll leave with his name, and the blues won't own you once you're forever changed.
got a limp, let it be. Just bless me in the breaking and let the dawn find me free. If you're wrestling with God tonight, don't you let him go. Hold on through the darkness till mercy starts to show. You might leave with a limp, but you'll leave with his name, and the blues won't own you once you're forever changed. If you're wrestling with God tonight, don't you let him go. Hold on through the darkness till mercy starts to show. You might leave with a limp, but you'll leave with his name, and the blues won't own you once you're forever changed. Jacob crossed somehow, same past behind, but a different man now.
Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who sell you cheap, but God can still keep your future, even when your past turns deep. Joseph wore his father's favor like a coat too bright to hide. Brothers watch that color shimmer with envy in their clothes. Dreams don't die in a ditch, even when hope feels so. God don't measure futures by the hands that let go. You can strip me of my freedom, you can take my name, but you can't sell a destiny God already claimed. Sent him out to check the sheep, far from Father's view. Every step toward his brothers felt like nothing new. Hatred met him in the field, whisper sharp as knives. Sometimes family feuds cut deeper than outside. When love turns into laughter, trust turns into scheme, the blues start singing louder
in the sound of your dream. But heaven sees the setup before the trap is sprung, and God still guards the promise in the hands of the young. They grabbed him by the collar, ripped the colors off his back. Favor fell into the dust as they laughed and turned black. Threw him in an empty pit. No water, no way out. When life drops you that low, even prayer learns how to shout. Many necks passed by the road, silver clinking in the sun. For 20 pieces they traded what heaven had begun. Judah counted out the money like Joseph was a thing. Some betrayals cost you nothing, but they cost the world everything. Sold for silver, sold by blood, sold by the ones who knew. But God was still counting steps. Joseph never knew what man calls disposal, God calls a plan. The blues may write the chapter, but God writes the end. They dipped the coat in goat's blood, laid it at their father's feet. A lie wrapped in evidence broke Jacob incomplete. Some pain don't heal overnight. Some tears don't dry, but God can work through sorrow. The truth don't justify. Chains sang against his ankles, dust burned his eyes. Every mile pulled him farther from the dreams he'd prized. But God was walking with him. Sometimes the world throws you down, chains and prison walls all around. But the same God who holds your dreams can turn the darkest night into streams. Joseph walked in Potiphar's house, young, bright, and alone. Fell into temptation's trap, but God made him strong as stone. Even in the prison's cold walls, faith burned slow and true. Every day, every step, God kept his promise in view. From the pit to the palace blues, from sorrow to the light, when God's got his hand on you, everything turns out right. Don't curse the chains you wear, don't curse the night. God's building your throne while you hold on tight. Potiphar saw his wisdom, trusted him with all he had. But false accusations fell like lightning, cold and bad. Joseph ended in the jailhouse, in chains and in despair. But God was still walking with him right there in the prayer. From the pit to the palace blue, when the world says no, God's still planting blessings even when the doors close. Keep your heart unshaken, keep your faith alive. One day the rivers of sorrow will turn and rise. Joseph interpreted dreams of baker and the cupbearer. Every night he prayed and watched, every hour got nearer. He spoke God's truth to strangers, even behind cold bars. Faith don't need an audience to shine like stars. Then Pharaoh had a vision, 7 fat cows, 7 lean, 7 green ears, 7 dry. Joseph saw what it means. God gave him wisdom to save the land from dread. Even the mighty king listened to what God said. Joseph took off the chains, put on fine linen clothes. The dreamer who once was sold, now everyone knows. Governor of the land, ruler of grain and seed, the same God who held his heart provided every need. From the pit to the palace blues, from weeping to rejoicing, every tear and every trial was God's way of choosing to lift you higher than you could ever know. From the chains of the pit to a Pharaoh's throne, Joseph saved the people, fed the poor and the weak, turned famine into plenty with every word he'd speak. Faith ain't about the struggle, faith ain't just praying through. Faith is what you do when God lifts you to use. Sometimes we feel forgotten in pits of sorrow and shame, but God can turn the story and call out our name. Every prison has a purpose, every night is a test. God knows when you're ready for your moment of rest. From the pit to the palace blues, God's hand never fails. He turns your trials into triumph, your weeping into tales. Hold fast, keep praying, don't let go of His hand. The same God who raised Joseph still rules over your land. Yeah, Lord, if I'm in a pit tonight, remind me you're still there. Keep my heart on fire and my feet in prayer. From sorrow to blessing, from chains to praise, I'll trust you forever, all of my days.